Now, President Donald Trump is leading Democratic rival Joe Biden in the vital battleground state of Florida, as well as in several other competitive swing states that will help decide the United States elections. These states include North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Now, Fox News Network projects Trump will win Florida and Texas. Florida is a must-win in its quest for the 270 electoral college votes needed to win another 4 years in the White House. Biden is searching desperately for states to recapture, well, from Trump. Now, these include the so-called blue wall states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Those states sent Trump to the White House in 2016, but vote counting could stretch for hours or even days there. Voters were seen wearing masks and maintaining social distancing to guard against the spread of the coronavirus as they stood in long lines to make their mark. There were no signs of disruptions or violence at polling stations, as some officials had feared.
Good evening. Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we were going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted, every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it for Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we expected. And we're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania. Yes. I've been talking to folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look, you know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome. And I want to thank every one of you who came out and voted in this election.
The decision of the American people. As we wait for that decision, let's now cross to SABC News correspondent Ishan Garg. I spoke to you yesterday, Ishan. Welcome to SABC News once again. We discussed the fact that there was great excitement, in particular for the Biden-Harris ticket. As it stands, that ticket is in danger of not winning. What is the mood this morning in India?
Well, a number of pollsters and experts are just as excited and at the same time rather squeamish about the results of the US elections. Nobody seems to be sure here in India as well, which I'm sure must be the case everywhere else in the world. We've been speaking to our colleagues in America as you have, and that's the same exact thing that the experts and pollsters in India as well are saying. But having said that, the politicians are keeping a rather close eye on who's going to win the elections, because if it's the Donald Trump ticket that ends up winning the election, if it's the continuation of a Trump presidency, things might be different, as opposed to if the Biden administration comes to power, things might be completely different in terms of how the relation with India is maintained, and also in terms of how America as a country looks at several domestic steps that India takes, especially pertaining to India's treatment of minorities in the recent past, and also some of the other domestic things that India does, including trading with its Asian neighbors, as well as its recent tensions that have emerged between India and China. So all of that really at this moment depends on which president will come to power, and as you know very well, the results are not exactly clear at the moment.
Look, Without a doubt, when you look at the United States, they've somewhat become the yardstick of democracy in the world over. India being possibly the largest democracy in the world, whatever happens in the United States, the world over is looking at them to see what happens, how democracy plays out. Then you have utterances from the US president saying, look, they're going to rig it, they're going to steal the election. What is the thought back home in your democracy, developing country like India? Are we taking note of what the words coming out of the White House from this president, or are we saying, ah, we're used to that noise coming in from him, we'll just concentrate on the basics?
No, I mean, what you're pointing out is absolutely the case in India as well. People do take note of how US is behaving, how the democracy in the United States is behaving. And because of that, we also draw lessons of how countries are supposed to behave. And this has been a very long sort of a fantasy with a section of the Indian public as well, that America is the democracy that we need to look up towards and see how it functions in order to design our own functioning of the democracy. And we have seen the trends that have emerged in the US, followed by Brexit in Europe. Those same trends have also emerged in India as well. We have seen the same sort of rise of populism, same sort of rise of right-wing politics, which in a sense was started by the populist movement brought on by Donald Trump. We have seen the same sort of wave being continued in India by Prime Minister Modi. And we're also seeing that India also reacts to the same sort of news or criticism from the liberal factions of the society in the same sort of manner that the US does. So for example, when you see President Donald Trump calling out his opponents or his critics as people who are the enemy of the nation, or calling out news media as fake news, we're also seeing the same kind of statements being made, or same kind of comments being made by Indian politicians as well. So there are a lot of similarities, which is why a number of liberals in India are looking to the United States at this moment in a hopeful manner, hoping that if a Joe Biden administration comes to power in the White House, it will restore some sort of normalcy, and it will also somehow perhaps become a bastion for liberalism all over the world. But if a Trump presidency continues, we have to make sure that we have to understand at this point that it's not going to change fundamentally anywhere, but it's the psychological aspect of it that counts.
In fact, as a journalist now, not necessarily as an Indian journalist, as a journalist in general, I mean, when you think of that, what you've just mentioned, the fact that, you know, I'm not going to call it right wing, but the right gaining power in various countries around the world, including what we've seen now with Donald Trump in America, nationalism first. You mentioned that it's played a role in India a little bit. How does it, as a journalist, you sit back and say, the world is changing all over the place. Is it good? Is it bad? What's your thoughts in general as a journalist?
Well, in general, it's very important to note here that these elections, the kind of campaigning that's done around them, both by the liberal and the conservative sides, both left, right, and centre, they leave a long-lasting impact. So it doesn't matter really in the end who wins the elections, because that's more about the arithmetic of getting the Electoral College in the United States. Or if we speak about in
Apologies, seem to have lost that line to Ishan Garg, our correspondent in the India there, just giving us a background and update on how the Indian community in that side of the world are watching out for the US elections. I was going to try again and ask my director, do we have him back online? No, unfortunately he's not there. And let's get